Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Trade the Close here at NinjaTrader Live. I'm Michael Burke, filling in again for Jim Cagnina. He'll be back. I think he'll be back on Friday. He'll definitely be back next week. I'm joined by Tracy Shuchart. Tracy, how are you?
I am good. I think we should get right into crude oil because we have a possible powder keg happening in the Middle East right now.
Definitely.
It started this morning. It started this morning when Trump told Fox News that Iran's becoming much more aggressive. And then just about an hour ago, there was an unusual advisory released by the UK Office of Maritime Trade Operations, warning of possible conflict in the Arabian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and Straits of Hormuz. Now it's just been released that the U.S. Embassy in Iraq is preparing for an ordered evacuation due to heightened security risks in the area. And the U.S. State Department is authorizing the departure of non-essential personnel family members from Bahrain and Kuwait. And there are rumors circulating that there might be a possible attack on Iran from Israel. So we have seen Crude react to this news that's been coming in while we were on the break.
So yeah, let's look at the 5 minute chart real quick, and we can see exactly what you're talking about here. The market was somewhat positive right off the get-go. We've been above yesterday's close for most of the session, and we're well above the high of yesterday. But you can see that market really take that parabolic move around one Eastern time. We went right through that 168, which should have with that 68, which should have been a pretty good resistance level, and we're up there, right, playing with the R3 there. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see whether we continue this rally into the close. Just real quick, let's take a look at the daily chart just for some perspective here. So you can see this is a large green benchmark candle. And there's no point in trying to pick where this is going to end at this point. This market's rallying. There's news in play. I think crude oil is probably one of those markets that we got to keep an eye on overnight as well. All right, Tracy,
Absolutely.
let's take a look at nat gas. So we talked about yesterday how
Yeah, we
nat
have,
gas is.
I haven't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tracy.
Go ahead. I'll just go over quick reasons why this market has been pulling back a little bit. We had last week we showed a big build. The expectation is for another big build that comes out tomorrow, Thursday at 10:30. We also have had cooler weather across the U.S., as they say. Demand is depressed for air conditioning, and we do have several LNG facilities that are under maintenance that are reducing flows and kind of exacerbating the surplus within the U.S.
So what I was going to say at the outset there was that we talked about yesterday how nat gas is not necessarily correlated to crude oil, and we're seeing that definitely today. Crude oil has its own dynamics. This is the daily chart of nat gas, and as you can see, the moving averages. I use a 21 and a 34. They're coming together here. The market's right at that price, so I think we have some support here at 3.5. And we'll just have to see how this plays out today. This market, is right now it's down almost 1%. So we'll keep an eye on this going into tomorrow. Let's take a look at gold.
So gold is, gold is a still fundamentally strong market. Not, I kind of like this going sideways if we're going to make another leg higher. So we talked about this with Joseph this morning, Joseph Wang. You still have, he's very bullish on gold because, we are seeing central bank buying. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and so he thinks this market is poised to go much higher.
So I kind of, sorry about that, Tracy. I threw you a bit of a curve there with gold. Let's
I
let's
know.
let's
I can
talk
talk
about
gold.
Well, I mean, gold's in play, right? It's always in play. Let's take a look at platinum as well. What do you've got for us for platinum?
So we have platinum. We made again new highs today. I really would, we have since sold off that high earlier today. If you pull a fib, I'm not a whole lot, $30, but I would like to see this market kind of move sideways for another leg higher. To be honest with you, I mean, if you pull from if you, I mean, we are well above any kind of area that you could put a fib. I mean, I guess you could do it that way. But this market seems to be, and it likes to kind of pull back at the end of the day. We saw this yesterday. We saw that happen the day before as well. It looks like we're doing that again today. So, but this market still has positive momentum. I still think it could go a little bit higher. My first point I really wanted was 1300. We almost got there. I would consider that we got to that first area that I was looking for from that initial breakout. And we will have to see what's there. We know we've talked about this every day, kind of what the fundamentals are behind this. We have a huge deficit this year that's only supposed to grow. This market obviously would like any kind of deal with China because this is used in a lot of renewables. China is a big producer of renewables, as well as, we've talked about EV demand is just not what they expected it to be, and platinum's used in catalytic converters. So this market has momentum behind it. It's been coiling for a very long time, a couple of years. And so I knew the breakout would be supercharged because the fundamentals, because the market was so depressed. And, again, it's also one of those metals that is still a precious metal, even though it's a utility metal. And because gold prices are so high right now, we are seeing some more kind of consumer demand for this product.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you talk about, maybe looking at fibs, if you're talking about looking at fibs from like, from that last high, holy cow, you're right. It's been 2 or 3 years since we've been up at these levels. We're getting a big seller's wick here today. Let's take a look at that 5 minute. Take a look at that. So here, you're seeing we're making multi-year highs today, right after the open around 11 a.m. today. And we're having a bit of a sell-off, maybe some profit taking here. Yesterday we were down, and a lot of you could have read into that the market had topped. We're going to see a little bit of consolidation based on yesterday's close, but no, today we had another big run up, well above. We're still well above yesterday's high, new multi-year high, but a little bit of a sell-off here took us down to R2, a little bit of resistance. We probably have some resistance here at 1200 as well. So we'll keep an eye on this. Yesterday was a bit of a fake out. We made a nice run up today. Maybe the selling here at the end of the day is a fake out, and we'll see another run up tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. And finally, Tracy, we want to look at silver.
And so the silver market, again, it is down today, which is surprising given that the platinum seems excited about a China-US deal that hasn't been approved yet, but that seemed to go higher. But overall, this market is still bullish. We had a huge breakout. Again, when we see these huge breakouts, I personally like to see the market consolidate some, give it a rest to be able to give it enough momo to move for the next leg higher. And so I'm not concerned about this market. The fundamentals are absolutely still behind this. This is another market that's in deficit, that we're seeing consumer buying, and that has utility demand even greater so than platinum, that's used in medical and used in dental, and it's used in renewables. And so all the fundamentals again are there for the silver market.
It's interesting, yesterday, actually a couple of days ago, Monday we wicked up to 37. Yesterday we tested 37 again. Today is the first day we're actually seeing a little bit of separation from that 37 level. I was looking, you mentioned RSI the other day on another market. I wanted to see what RSI was looking like here on silver. We're at a reading of about 80. I use an 8-bar RSI. It's a little more reactive. That is well overbought here. And we have not been this overbought in this market since last year. So definitely, I think we could see a bit of a retracement here before we make another leg up higher. So that does it for our segment of hot commodities today. Tracy, thanks for being with me.
Thank you very much. See you guys in the chat, and get ready for order flow, guys.
Definitely. We've got XYZ and Nick with us today from OrderFlow Labs. Gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
It's going. It's been a pretty wild session. XY, are you still along?
Yeah, I'm down to the runner, just letting it go. It's a good bounce off of the weekly open, so if
It
they
is.
want it, they're gonna have to come get me.
Well, there's a lot of news in play now, so you guys be careful out there.
Yeah, we'll
Always.
try.
All right. So they gave me that second chance to get into the same trade, XY, and I
Yeah,
kept waiting to see if it was going to
the
retest the week open.
yeah, I got lucky with that fill when we were in the green room, that low fill
Mm-hmm.
right off the bounce. Yeah, those were good. This is my last, so my average looks like it's up here now because this is my last ad on the trade. So yeah, we're holding on to that. But yeah, I got lucky on that weekly open bounce. Super crazy. If they actually get through this volume here and start trading back into the IB low, then there's a chance that we've seen low a day. So I don't want to give this up because it's probably going to be pretty hard to find access into any trades right now for
Yeah,
the next few minutes for sure.
I would agree with you. I think it's very possible that might be the low of the session, but who knows? It's been pretty wild after the China deal wick that we kind of had in the pre-market, followed by CPI, followed by that slow drift up grind when Leo and Kane were on, and now a little bit at the end of the day liquidation. So we'll see. They didn't get quite as far as I thought we might. I thought we possibly could go take out the previous day low, but
Yeah, not quite, not quite. It was like what, 2 ticks maybe? One,
on
two.
ES, yeah, ES needed a couple ticks. Looks like 3 ticks.
It would have happened if NQ didn't have a weekly open line right there, that
I
green
know.
line.
I mean, it's pretty clean. Yes, like wicked below it, went right
Yeah,
down to almost the exact 6,000 mark on the S&Ps. So shocker, buyers came right in and defended that area.
right.
I mean, we've talked about the week open so many times, and it seems to always act as at least a temporary pivot.
It's the ultimate line
Hmm.
that everyone needs on their chart, a weekly open. Yeah, super clean bounce. All these wicks under here, I mean, the market built volume up here, and it's always just lacking real interest down here, so makes sense. We'll see. See how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not kicking myself too hard on potentially missing this rotation back into today's value, but I mean, I had a good morning, but I mean, that's about as simple as it gets.
Yeah, morning was interesting. It was both of us going long
Hmm.
while Leo and Kane were going short.
I mean, I understand. I understood why they were getting short. It's just like you just were seeing nothing from sellers. Like they were trying, but there really was not a lot of force behind anything they were doing, at least in the
Yeah,
early
then it
part
just
of that
collapsed.
session. They just kept getting pushed higher.
Yeah, I actually really did think they were going to tag overnight high, and then they just collapsed and set up the dead body with the
Eh,
trapped volume.
You and I calling in the chat for basically the all-time high to be tagged this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it was a really good. If I wasn't long, I would be stalking a short too.
Yeah, you did. You guys, Leo did catch that short eventually, and we did get the nice move down.
Yeah, there was no way I would have caught the first liquidation move to VWAP,
Hmm.
but that retest of that volume right here for the dead body setup was good. So I think there's context that people are missing because I do get DMs about it like almost every day people think it's setting up. It has to be a certain condition. The market has to be going one way directionally, either way, and it has to be building volume nodes along the way. It can't be like a smooth profile. That's just a reversion to mean, right? You
Hmm.
don't really need trapped volume to be able to do that. You need builds along the way, which we had in the morning. We had like four distributions, and I think it was the fourth one that they couldn't, work with. So we didn't have this one big node. It was a node, a node, a node, and then this node. And this one just washed through it. So on the way back, the only thing to look for is, hey, can they get back into this volume? If they can't, there's only one way it's going to go, really, and it's just down. So the setup was there today because we had multiple builds. Um, Generally, it wouldn't just wash all the way through like this. It would come down and it would try to bump its head again, and then show you if it's going to reject, right? But this one just washed to VWAP and then like to the tick. And then it came back up for the retest, which is where Leo and Kane got short. Perfect entry, really. It's the
Hmm.
LVN and stuff. And that's where they would have to hold or show a lack of interest. And if, they do all this, they build it, they get stuffed, right? They get ran off sides, and if they can't get back into that range, now you've got like double barrel selling. That's the idea, but there has to be builds of nodes along the way so that you can, place some inventory at risk. So I hope that makes sense. It's not like it's there every day. It's a pretty specific market setup, just to clarify. They smoothed out this LVN here.
Yeah. Curious how
This
much
one
higher.
hour candle is funny.
That's right.
It's not gonna have a body. Above the London Open now.
Yeah. ES and NQ sitting just below IB low in both right now. Are you going to hold this runner
I
for
think
the
so. Normally
red
I
eye
would
that did
have
not get tagged?
trailed it. Normally I would be trailing this, but I think we have a decent chance that we have seen low of day, and I don't want to give up that access because I don't know how the market's going to give us any access otherwise. So in these situations, it's like, oh, if they got to come get me, you know. Um, I don't want to give it up myself. That's kind of like beating yourself.
Hmm.
So they got to come get me. Otherwise, yeah, it's nice. It's like 50 points in. But if we get through this range and we get back into like value, we could extend quite a bit further. So it's a risk reward thing. And I always ask myself, so there's another thing for the chat that I'm always mindful of. I always like really quick ask myself, what would hurt more, right? Covering here and seeing it run or letting it come back after having right now like 50 points. At the moment, usually it's just cover it, get the 50 points. I don't care. But in this situation, I think we've got pretty good upside runway. And I think covering now and seeing it run would hurt more. So it's always which hurts more because ultimately how I'm going to execute afterwards depends on my mental state. And you don't want to get into a bad one. So usually I would cover because, hey, look, who cares? Get your money, call it good. Obviously, according to risk reward, right? But today, I do think we have tagged a low. Um, and right now it seems like a pretty guarded position because we've been moving up. Of course, they can offer here. This would be where the offer would be quite likely, and it comes back, hey, it is what it is. Today's moves have provided many points in range, and I'm having a great day. So coming back and taking me out of a 50-point runner is not going to really impact me much. And if you look at this 1 hour, this quite possibly can be the low. We're back above this zone. So this zone's always been here because they came back and they got trapped and they fell through. And I marked this taper, this LVN, and they couldn't build volume through it. And then they finally did, came back and they started just holding this area, which they adjusted again. So just looking at past information, which is all we can really do, right? Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, so for LDM, usually I would trail, right? I would try to lock it in, but today's P&L is so much of an outlier on the positive side that I am very happy with actually risking all of this unrealized profit for much more. So usually it's not the case. Today, the market's been very interesting. It's given good opportunities for those who've waited for the right spots.
Yeah. I mean, the last two sessions, Monday and Tuesday, I know you've been on to trade the close and stuff, but it just was like you felt like if you were slugging to get 10, 20 points
Yep.
in NQ, which is just kind of crazy. I mean, that's a usual, like if I can do that with a couple minis, like I'm usually very happy, but when that's about the range for majority of the session at times, it's real hard to kind of move your way and get a few points. And the last 2 days I've had to keep it super light, just 10, 15, 20 points, and I pretty much have called it a session, but that's about as much as it's given you. I think you guys had a little more fun towards the close yesterday, but
Tuesday, yeah,
it was
our
tight.
first, Monday when we did the show together, they gave us
Mhm.
that 30-point range. That was brutal. That was
It was
brutal.
tough. It was tough. You guys had more fun yesterday, but
Yes, yesterday was action packed. My brain was fried because I had been trading like 2 hours already prior,
Mhm.
which is longer than normal, and then taking a little break and hopping back on, and then trading for the whole session almost, me and Stowe. Yeah, I was fried. Today, I'm also kind of fried. I woke up early to catch Leo and Kane, so started trading early naturally. Um, yeah, so we're gonna sit in this one, see how it shakes out. It's not looking bad, honestly. It's
No,
still
you're still
the
holding.
volume is still inching up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and that
our Monday was
it was that
tough.
was rough.
So now that we're moving, I do want to capitalize on this. I might call it a week trading after today. Um, feels like it's my Friday. I've been working hard. They got me I got 2 weeks back to back of three in a row NT live sessions. So I've been working. I'm ready to chill
I
out.
will say, at least my feedback from this morning, that was a lot of fun. That was a great session with those two very smart, great traders. And it was a lot of entertainment just to sit there
Mhm.
and listen and have some fun with them this morning. And not only that, but what's coming up after we finish today with Stowe and Jared Tendler doing a
Oh
session.
yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun and really cool for everybody to hang out after the bell and enjoy that.
Yeah, today is
It's a great
loaded.
content here today on the channel.
Loaded. I actually am gonna stay on to catch that
Yep.
session afterwards. I'm very interested. Curious.
I'm gonna throw it on in the car. I gotta go run some errands, but it'll be great great driving to listen to that.
Mhm. Yeah, so if they don't hold this spot right here, I'm in danger. Yeah, but it's something I've already made my peace with it. It's something I'm gonna do every time
Ooh,
um,
yeah, we're starting to lose this.
in the situation I'm in. So
I mean, they already did that second attempt to go take out the week open again, kind of bring it down and retest that low, and buyer
mhm.
stepped right in. So let's see if they're still there.
Someone said just shorted. Yeah, it's a good spot for a
I mean, it's
short.
not a bad spot at all.
It's a great
Kind of
spot for
just
a short.
failed at the IB low.
It's a breakdown retest. Super clean. Generational low. That was the October lows of like 2 years or 3 years ago. That was crazy. I think NQ was trading 10K, which is wild to think about now.
I mean, we were trading like 16 and change, like 6 weeks,
Yeah.
which is also crazy. I don't know, someone was trying to measure it, but did we like recover this just as fast, if not faster than 2020? As
Yeah,
far
I'm
as
not sure. I'm not sure. I
it
don't know
looks
though.
close on a chart, but
2020 was crazy.
in terms
The
of just a
market.
correction and how fast we're already back to kissing the all-time high.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving it
Should
lower.
have been today, right?
I mean, it should have been this morning, but Kane and Leo had to be paid eventually.
Being
No, I
reported
was
as a record recovery.
being reported as a record. Okay.
So maybe they took my runner and will continue up. We'll see.
If we lose this could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm open to interesting things now that I'm flat. There's this like 210 lot that's been appearing on the book all day.
Is it? I didn't even.
Yeah, and when they would move away, he would actually chase price down. Um, but he wouldn't chase it with 210. So he'd show 210 and chase it down with like around 100, give or take 10 lots, 110, 90. He just chased it down with 90 got filled. It's really strange. Maybe it's Stowe.
It's definitely Stowe
He's messing around.
or just Kane screwing with us from the couch or something.
Am I still long? No.
Now you got
Yeah,
tagged.
I got quite a few longs from the low from weekly open, so I got paid pretty well on it already. We'll see what happens from here, but there's no buyer control right now as it's moving back. So
Yeah, you've
if
been carving up this session apparently.
yeah, the session's been really good to me. That's
It
why
has.
I'm like, maybe I'm just gonna call it a week because it's not gonna get any better from here.
Yeah, I pretty much. I mean, I haven't done anything since the long off the open. I don't. I think I managed that pretty well. I was pretty proud of myself.
That long off the open was, I mean, you can't ask for more than that. That was
Yeah.
insane. And
The hold is what I'm impressed with
the
myself
hold is
because
even more insane.
it's something I think we've talked about on this show before, where it's like if the original thesis or anything is kind of shaking you out of the trade or giving you a reason to get out, then there's no reason sometimes for me to be so like pigeonholed into my 20 to 30 point take profits at times. Like I can still trail, I can still scale out, but there's no
Mhm.
reason I think to cover a runner if I haven't been in theory shaken out of the original idea or seeing sellers really step in at that point that makes me feel like they're going to take this much lower. It just was like that kind of situation where we were just continuing to grind up and you saw sellers come in and they really were getting nowhere and then we'd move up a little higher. So
Yep.
solid job. Something I have been trying to work on a little bit with my trading and not be stuck in a very, very scalpy mindset of just taking it all off for 20, 30 points and being done. Nothing wrong with taking one off there and kind of just continuing to let the trade play out.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot easier when you've got more size initially, so that you can just peel it off along the way and then, sit in a runner with the good profits on the trade already.
Mm-hmm. And trail it up because I got out right as that kind of whatever you would call it. It was like 50 points of liquidation back down to 20,000. Like I was trailing and I immediately kind of like flattened out as soon as we broke below like the kind of 45s, 40s. So I was out.
Yeah. Yeah, from my last entry, which is where the runner would have been, I think I was up close to 50 or 50 something, but they trailed me out at 20. Um, Too slow to get back in at VWAP. That was crazy. If I tried to mark it in there, I don't even know where I would have got filled.
Right.
But then it gave a nice short, so that was really nice. I am open to taking long stabs down here. Just want to see a bit hold.
Can
Maybe
I
some
withdraw?
selling step off.
There's a question in the chat. Can I withdraw daily my profit in my personal account in Ninja? Yes. If it's a personal account, I believe you can request withdrawals whenever you'd want.
Do I trade a prop or personal? Both. Mostly personal. Um, the prop is like I don't know how else to describe it other than like it's like a side quest thing. If you're a gamer by any means, you know what I'm talking about. But personal. The reality is a lot of props they cap you pretty pretty aggressively on your profits. There's only two that don't, and I am currently only using those two. Um, one caps you on the day, so yeah, just those two. But mostly it's a personal.
Yeah, I'm the same way. You do both. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Do you trade live when not on NinjaTrade? Yes. Like if I'm. Oh, you mean like streaming? Um, no, I don't like live stream off of NT Live. If I do, it's in the OFL Discord. That's where I am live streaming. So yeah, you'll be able to if you're in there, if you sign up. I do it twice a week. So I do live stream in there with screen share and all that stuff.
We're
But
getting
yeah, I
fancy on NT Live here with this split screen action.
oh, I just saw that right now.
It's cool.
Actually,
It's fun. It's cool for like this situation specifically because we have two different products. So you're seeing the differentiation of ES and NQ with the delta profile with everything. So that's actually kind of cool.
I think I should do that more often.
I will set up hotkeys so that I don't have to have the orders sitting there.
Have I tried penny stocks or hyper scalping? No and no. I think hyper scalping is one of those things. How do I put it? The risk reward is very tricky to make sense of it, right? And I think a lot of prop traders love hyper scalping because your risk is capped. Your downside is capped by the money you've paid for the account. If you're trading a real personal account, in my experience, it is very, very difficult to make a consistent living, properly managing risk, hyperscalping. Because the time will come where one trade wipes out a lot of trades. And the time will come where one day will wipe out your whole account. So maybe for prop trading, hyperscalping can be feasible. You can really abuse it, especially if you're trading sim, which is if you're on prop, you're trading like on the sim. Um, but for real trading, I don't think it's feasible. I certainly don't do it. Um, when I do my prop trading, I really try my best. I mean, yeah, I pretty much do the same thing over and over. The people who go into my live streams in OFL, they know I'm doing the same thing day in, day out. I'm saying the same thing. I'm looking at the same thing. My inputs are same. And I do the same for prop. So the reason I much rather prefer personal than prop is because of limitations on downside. So you can't really be pressing large size or large enough size on props because you'll hit your day loss limit or you'll literally just kill the account because of the max loss limit. But on a personal, you can, and you can make the risk make sense, right? So if you want to trade like anything more than three lot mini even like a 150K account prop, it can get pretty dicey really fast. And if you want to trade in a way where you can to add onto your trades, it can also get dicey really fast. So because I want more legs to the trade to be able to scale out, personal is a lot more is a lot easier for me to trade. So yeah,
I'm
these
going to do
ones
what's called a pro gamer move.
are yeah, that's the thing. For me, the difference between prop and a personal, the personal is a lot more free.
They're gonna take this lower.
You can hyperscale live and keep refunding your account. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a little thing about that now. So you're gonna see a lot of YouTube streamers, and you're gonna notice, hey, what's up, Kane? Yeah, we caught a big runner. I caught a big 100 something point runner to the overnight low to avenge the overnight high failure.
Yeah, Kane, that would not have been my bingo card this morning when you guys were on that we did this after getting that being basically 40 points away.
Yeah, I think the total trade was like 100 and I don't know. I wasn't at the RTH Open retest, so huge trade, but the runner was 100 something. But yeah, so another thing about these YouTube streamers that to be honest, I'm not even sure if they're really trading even funded accounts because when you look at their trading, it's very like they just don't lose, right? They don't lose. They're scalping like, oh, I'm out 10 points on this. High hit rates. But when it's time to book a loser, they just don't. They either move their stop or, you never really see them lose. But when you do, it's like their account is like in shambles or gone. Um, so it's easy for them to sell their whole thing about like, I'm this, I'm that. Buy my course, my strategy's so good. You see me win live all the time. I'm winning trades. I'm like 6 trades in a row, green. But it's because, well, you have a high hit rate when you really don't take the loss. Um, and then they'll be like, oh, look at my payouts. Payouts mean nothing. Like I could be spamming all kinds of payouts um, on my Twitter. Like Nick and these other OFL guys, they know like the payouts are not really proof of anything. So yeah, these don't fall into like this. I don't know, this guy's selling you a thing about scalping 10 points at a time or something because when do they ever show their losers? That's always the question. Who's going to show their losers and how they handle it, right? How they manage it. Yeah, that's my little TED Talk rant about the space. Always check to see how they manage losses because if that information is not available to you when you don't see it, they are phony or it's not a profitable strategy. It's just, you know, easy enough to catch a streak to get to payout. Yeah, they'll average down, they'll do all that stuff, and like, I mean, it's easy to do that because oh, the idea is still good. Idea is still good, and yeah, so don't fall into that stuff. You think they're gonna hold this?
I mean, I kept waiting to see if they were going to take out yesterday's value low, the week open again, but it looks like those buyers are still here.
Yeah, 840s,
They're still trying.
830s. It looks like they are getting some good continuation off of that last attempt.
There's a little volume building here at like 14s, and I was making the joke earlier to somebody that you could probably keep buying 14s.
Yeah, I think you can. It's too late now, but I'll try it from here. This is it. This is the low of day. Kane, tell me this is the low of day. Oh, we're long. Kane, you got to prove to me that you're long. I want to see a 300 lot order hitting the offer.
It's low of the day. At least I hope so.
I want to see Kane hit the offer with 300 lots to prove it. Otherwise, he's lying. We'll make it a weird number. We'll make it like 321.
I mean, he has been so close to yesterday's low. It's just like that's the only thing. I'm
Dude,
like,
I know
what if they just
we're
wick
seeing
down?
Kane on the book here and there, man. I
Oh,
I won't forget
100%.
that one day, Kane, when you were on in the chat with us, and you're like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna take a short here." And you literally see 50 lots pop up on the offer, get filled, and he's like, "I'm short." I was like, "Oh, oh, I know." You can't hide from the book. Centralize the book. Yeah, when did you would you cover that short at um before you guys logged off? Did you hold it all the way to overnight low?
10
10
a.m. open.
what's that?
I don't even know what price that is.
I think it was up here then. 10 a.m. Well, it depends when his 10 a.m. is.
Right. That's where I'm like, I don't.
It would probably be here. So this swing right here,
These
like
probably means nine. So
960s, 960s. To be fair, that's where I would
Yeah.
have covered it too. Yeah, 978. I would have covered it there too. I only got the big one because it came back after all this and then gave us that lower high right here. You see the tape just start rolling over. Then that's when I just started getting in and pressing the ads, and then bam, overnight low. You know it was a strong move when even I held it through.
that's how I felt today.
Yeah, the up move, strong.
It's like I'm holding
Otherwise,
long, which is usually like for some reason psychologically with me, like I can hold a short. I just always struggle to hold longs, which makes absolutely no sense just psychologically with the way the market kind of functions day after day. But for
I
some
think
reason,
it's just easier
I
to
tend to
hold the
scalp longs.
short because they
I,
get it done faster,
I was
you
gonna
know?
say it's the speed. It's like when
Yeah.
a violent down move happens, like I'm holding because it's moving that quickly and it's suddenly 40, 50 points.
Yeah. When it's a uptrend, it's like grindy, it's slow. You're bumping the head on the wall constantly, but on short when it's shorts, yeah, it's very violent, so it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Pullbacks are they're dealt with more quickly. I would say that. The pullbacks are sharper, which is the scary part. Pullbacks are very sharp. They're very wide, but when you see it start to roll over, it's just going to literally roll over again and again and again. Some volume above overnight low would be nice. Yeah, there's a lot of selling here in these 860, 859s. I'm hoping that now price can start trading above them and we'll be good to go.
I mean, this
There's
is
a lot
that
of selling
spot.
coming in.
I feel like for the last couple sessions at the very least, it's like 860s to 880s.
Mm,
It's just been a lot of just pause.
yeah.
Like I think I took an 877 short the other day.
A lot of absorption, but they're still lifting this thing. They're going for it. 950s. Yeah. I want like 958, 959.
I mean, let's just go take the overnight high.
Yeah, finally. They'll do it in the worst way possible, always. That's the market. Dude, who is this seller right here, man? I think we could get the move we're looking for if Kane would be so kind to slap the offer with about 350 lots. Just saying. This is as close as we'll get to market manipulation. Honestly. Kane's gonna be Kane's gonna be that stuck volume we see. He slaps the offer all late.
I love that I learned something about manipulation this morning
Oh yeah,
for the
manipulation.
stream. Learn something new every day.
The top 10 for all to see. For all with level 2 data to see. How long have I been trading? Crossed year 4 recently.
Yeah, I feel like we started actively day trading around the same time.
Actually, yeah, I think it depends. Day trading, what if you could even call it day trading, right? It's like 2020, peak COVID, like 2019, 2020. But actually trading futures,
Yeah.
2021 for me.
Yeah, for me it was like end of 2021, starting trading futures. I was in a paper account, Thinkorswim, thinking I knew what I was doing.
Dude, I
That's
think
how I was learning the DOM and things, like how to actually do this stuff.
there's this
It didn't work out
story,
so well.
my story of my first time actually trading and like, the futures trading. It's so crazy. I think I told it so many times, but it's a welcome, definitely a welcome moment, right? I put in like I think it's like $1,800 just to try it out. Opened up my brokerage um, with Edge Clear, and then I think it was in like a week and a half. That 1,800 was close to 14 grand.
Yep.
There's only one way to do that, and it's
Yep.
to full port, right? But it was like through averaging down. I'd get in and I'd average down, and then it just works. It works for a week and a half, and I'm like up to 14. I'm like, this is so easy. So easy. I might as well configure my Lamborghini right now or something like that. Yeah, so we're all like 14. I'm like, wow,
I'm the greatest
game is
trader
so
alive.
easy. Like, and then there was a day where I was up like 3,300. I was up 3,300. I was like, sweet. Oh, we're done for the day. We're good. This is great. And then I take a break. I go about my day. I do other things. And then I come back and then I split my account in half. And I'm like, what just happened? Right. And that's my first foray into the whole revenge trading, tilt, all that. Those concepts were very foreign to me. Um, obviously, right? I'm not getting trading education or no mentorship anywhere, anything like that. They really just bottom tick me. Um, yeah, so education, and then, I finally started to look into actually trading, like, and then, from there, that's the struggle. That's the beginning of trying to make it in the game. It's really tough, but that was my welcome to the game moment where I cut my account in half that day. Mhm. And over the next 3 days, the count got totally white.
Yep.
So,
My story is very similar. It's like an account from an initial deposit of like 10 grand. It goes to 18 in like 2 days. And then over the next week, it goes to zero.
yeah, when you're up like that and it's just like, I could do this all day. I could do this
Mhm.
forever. Why does anyone work at all? And then after a while, I just like, W2 isn't so bad. I don't know why people, say what they say about W2s. Money comes quick, it goes quick. Yeah, definitely in this game. They're not gonna let me get these longs off. I don't think so.
What are we doing? Are we going to take out this low?
Okay, and I think we're gonna die. Same. Yeah, I feel like I've been trading for a whole week straight, and it's been one day.
I feel like you haven't stopped
I'm
trading.
like numb to
3 weeks.
everything. The
All right,
market can hunt it.
GameStop is at 827. Market makers, van guys, if you're watching.
Yeah, sometimes the guys in the van are your friends, sometimes they're not. They've been kind. They've been kind today.
They
So
provided us with volatility today. That's all you can ask
yeah.
for.
Yeah. And now they're gonna take my money. I really should have just waited for this spot, but I don't even think this holds at this point. But man, I don't know. I think these lows can still hold. It's just been pretty tricky trying to get into it. That's it. We're going to zero. No, no, no. We're gonna hold this. We are gonna hold this as soon as offer lifting actually gets rewarded on the DOM here. We'll wait for it. That overnight low sellers, it's pretty thick up there. He's got a lot. He's got a lot to let go of. That's for sure. Oh
Trying
man,
to keep.
I chased that ad up a little too far. Now my average is a little higher than I'd like. Well, this has got to be it. Hard to imagine me until it's actually been a long time. It's been a long time.
I was
This
gonna
was
say I've
like
never seen you tilt.
yeah, it's been a really long time. I think it's for me the safeguard has always been to just like stop, like just get out of the market. Um, that's why we don't trade, or like me and you, we don't trade for too long. I want to leave that door, that window is shut. And I think it's also the way I manage the trades. Like, you would say sometimes, yeah, I'm covering way too early or this, but it's to protect my headspace. It's always that question, like I framed it earlier. If I'm in a trade, there's always going to be, you're thinking of certain scenarios, certain outcomes. The question is constantly going off in my head. What's going to hurt more? Covering here and seeing it go without me the rest of the way, or having it come back to me? And it's always having it come back to me that's going to hurt more. So then I cover it
Mhm.
and I'm happy with it and I live with it. And the equity curve is the proof. When you guys follow your process, your equity curve is going to be your proof. And it makes it easier to continue to do so when you have proof of concept. It's tilting together. I want to see Kane and Leo tilt together. Oh, that's going to rack up so many views.
I mean, I want to see them trade more together. That was great.
Yeah, Kane, I woke up super early to catch you guys on today. I'm a zombie right now. I feel like I've been trading 2 whole weeks and it's been one session. Although I am glad because the action was great.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a fun morning to trade.
Today's a good weekend send off for me for the P&L for sure. So all is well. Everybody wins. It was nice, but 2 hours in. Yeah, if you weren't long already, it sucks. It sucked. Thankfully, I was long and Nick gave me the courage to hold it. I was like, if Nick can do it, I can do
That
it.
says everything. If I'm holding a trade, it's either going to end catastrophically and come all the way back, or
Uh,
yeah, you definitely. If I'm reading it as a definitely you should be holding, then yeah, everybody should be, I guess, because I
Jeff,
get out way too quick.
I'm not going anywhere. My whole practice is when I have a day that's an outlier in P&L, um, I just call it a nice week. And hey, look, it's been great. The market gave me conditions to make outlier P&L, and I'm gonna chill with it. A lot of times, you know, in my way to where I am now, on my way to where I am now, big green outlier days can lead to just the opposite.
Hmm.
So another way to safeguard that is to just, hey, you know what, we're good. Um, like I said, it's the why, right? You don't become a trader to be a slave to your chart. You're just gonna you just want that freedom to do what you want when you want. So if you're constantly trying to show up and trade all the time, all day for the whole session, you're just a slave to the chart at that point. I'd rather get guaranteed pay if I'm going to put in that time somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something people don't think about, but I definitely have had some of my worst trading sessions following some of my bests or my largest withdrawals, biggest payouts at props, like whatever it is. It's just sometimes that next session or two can nip you in the butt a little bit. Kind of
Mhm.
like that the mindset of like if you have those type of days, those type of weeks, there's nothing wrong. I know people take days off and weeks off when they're in drawdown, but sometimes it's good to just kind of rein yourself in, celebrate it a little bit, have some fun, relax, take a
Hmm.
step back, and then come back into it rather than immediately the following day be like, all right, I can do this. So I'm going to keep pressing. And sometimes that can be very catastrophic.
Yeah, I think it's important to celebrate the wins in that way because it's very easy to fall into, and we might all be here, right? Where you're when you're green, it's like, of course I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. It's very much expected. And then you get really down on your down days. And so it's like a really negative feedback loop. Um, so yeah, I think that practice of really celebrating any outlier green, these small things really keep me off the tilt because they manage and they kind of shut the window for the other things to possibly seep in. And ever since I approached my trading in that way, it got way better.
Nope.
As they come all the way back. Yeah, it got so much better. Like the equity curve, the P&L. A lot of the times you go on YouTube and everyone's talking about perfection, you know? Oh, you got this, you got that. No, you got this, but it's everyone's different. You got to fit your personality into it. Um, oh, there's a lot in the chat right now.
Wow. Right back up.
Right back up. Yeah. Uh,
Brian,
why
I
long?
agree. I think it depends on everyone's
So
mindset.
so
Some people are super robotic with just the way they operate. Some people are more emotional. So for those people,
yeah.
like the swings in their P&L, the highs and lows when they are super high and super low, that's kind of the individuals I'd be referring to. But I know so many people that are very robotic and it's just another day and your head down and you're back just kind of managing your strategy and doing your thing and it doesn't affect you. But I think a lot of people in this game can be very emotional with their wins and losses. So sometimes taking those days after big days, red or green, is a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah, another thing to note too is what keeps me off of it as well as a really tight stop. So the stop you're looking at now is like uh, recently, for anyone that's been tuning in, they would notice this is a lot wider of a stop than I'm usually using. Obviously, it's kind of crazy right now. Um, but I need to get out of the trade. If it's not working as well as I had hoped when I entered, I need to get out because the longer I'm sitting in drawdown and the deeper the drawdown gets, you allow that window to stay open where like the hopium settles in, right? And now you're not really even thinking objectively. You're kind of like just hoping that it works out and you're making up like confirmation bias or something. I need to get out before that. That's what I learned too. I need to just get out. So my stop could be before the idea is wrong, but I need to get risk off. I need to take the chips off the table right then and there to step back, stay objective, and then we'll figure it out, right? That's very important. But for the person asking why I'm long any logic, I think we have seen the low of day. And as the sellers continue to press and they're not getting that push further towards the low, that's how reversals generally occur, right? Especially since they've come up to the breakdown retest and held it, very clean hold. They need to make a new low out of that. They have not been able to do so yet. And until they do so, there is a significant threat of a big move up. Um, Especially as we build this node right here, right? If they can't get into the edges of this, there's only one way this node can build. It's two-way order flow, which means there is a buyer present or buyers or whatever. And obviously Kane's here, right? We've got that level 3 data right now. We can see Kane's order. But yeah, you guys will notice like the size I'm trading right now is significantly smaller than earlier in the day. And that's how I was able to hold a runner for like 100 something points, is because I had enough size to peel off along the way. I can't hold, if I'm in three lots like this from up here, there is a 0% chance I can hold it all the way down to overnight low because I'd have peeled off along the way. So right now we're trading on a much smaller size. I don't want to give too much back of profits. Um, I want to still have and lock in my green outlier day and just call it a week and just hang out on the streams and stuff and just chill. Not even using stops. Yeah, this stop feels like it's a million points. Honestly, I'm not used to this, but you kind of do have to let it digest, right? Are they going to poke that low? If they do, they do. If not, then we'll be trading 23K. It's very simple.
Soon enough. M period turn came and went, and we're still stuck in this little consolidation.
Wish NT let us trade right to close. You can trade, you can hold your position if you have the margin. That's with every broker. Um, yeah, you just need more margin. Ask Kane, let him, or let you borrow some money or something. That's what I do.
Kane has all the margin.
Yeah, I just ask him to borrow some money. Which time frame charts do you find most helpful for managing risk? I use the DOM, the depth of market, and I kind of see when orders start to pile in, and I use those as kind of like bases and stuff. Otherwise, this is a 1 minute chart right here. I really like 1 minute Hikinashi, as you can see. But yeah, there's videos on my Twitter, and I put them on YouTube, just how I'm using the DOM to place risk and look for where I can get in to certain directions. I think a lot of people put too much of an emphasis on trying to be right and wrong. You can't. You can't know, you know. All you can do is, find that spot where you think the market can make that choice, whether to continue one way or turn the other. Find your way into where you want to enter, to make the risk make sense. And if it's a good outcome, you get paid much more than you'll lose otherwise. That's it. But you got to wait for those spots. And so like if I'm looking for an upside trade, I'm watching the DOM, waiting for orders to pile in, pile in. I'm waiting for the side I'm looking for to get continuation first and see where it tapers on the way back and try to put a limit order there. Um, Different platform. On NT, I pretty much don't have a DOM up, so I'm market ordering. But generally I'm that's exactly what I'm doing. You'll see it in my videos. I'm looking for that continuation and then where it's tapering. So it's overnight low. Yeah, this candle's on the 5 minutes, kind of nasty.
I mean, it's a series of nasty looking 5 minute candles.
Yeah. It's like a barcode. It's literally just a
Yep.
barcode. Yeah, the bid is still responsive, but this is when you never know. The bid's responsive now, but until a seller decides, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna push this thing. Haven't found him yet, but could be at any moment. 732 yesterday's low. Friday low, yeah. Yeah, I guess we're not gonna get the squeeze.
Buyers.
Buyers letting me down, right? Yep.
Yeah. They're
Dead
still
body coming. Oh,
trading.
the dead body's all the way up there, above the IB high.
Yeah, he's where I covered my runners.
Yeah, the dead body is up there. That volume is actually the reason why we're down here.
Y'all want to see a dead body?
They had the chance. They had the chance. They really built it up and they couldn't get back in, and that's how it happens. It's a lot of late inventory.
You know,
They got to get out.
we were calling for the overnight high. They let us down, and they deserve to die up there.
Very, very un-American. Just like this right now.
Let's see if we go tag the week open again on
There's a
ES.
dead body here. There's no dead body set up here because there's no big low build. So for the reverse to happen, there needs to be a low node like this. Generally, it's bigger. So now, obviously, since we've gone through and traded this whole range, it's built out differently. But at the time today, this was as big as any other node. So you need that at risk to be able to press against. So right now, there's no reverse dead body. It was awful. Actually, it was. It was. This thing just died in a flash. Still short, nice. Yeah, that overnight low seller is he's not playing around. I don't know how much he's got, but it's a lot.
Still just holding this though.
Yeah, I hate that they're doing this. They should give me a bit of room. I don't think Kane even got taken out yet. Kane, confirm if you're still alive.
Are you still in? Are they gonna defend this again?
Just a little sweep and back up would be cool.
I'm getting a delta flip on ES.
Put in like 100 delta real quick on that pop down, the 28s. 100 negative. See if they can lock him out. Yeah, I don't know if Kane's still in this. Maybe he got taken out, went to go scream into a pillow. Yeah, the split screen is sick. Oh, we gotta put on the close it before the low. Yeah, I hope you're right and that it is a stop hunt. And that'll be all. What was I gonna say? Yeah, they gave us this new thing. I think it's a NinjaTrader indicator that we gotta put on our charts
Yeah, I gotta do that this
to
weekend.
display. I totally forgot. Yeah, I gotta go configure that.
Yeah, it'll tell you guys our position since they're so tiny. I think when you're through the YouTube conversion, those are just little lines. You can't exactly see where our entries are, stops, all that stuff. So
Mhm.
it'll give us a nice little box.
A box, then you can really split screen it and really show everything. All right, this time I'll cover one up there at the overnight low. But then when I cover, it's gonna just rocket. It always happens that way.
And buyer stepped right in again.
Yeah, off that sweep. They really did taper under there. No one's pressing the offer, or no one's pressing against the bid down there. So hopefully the market sees that as um, a resolution to the question, are we going lower? And the answer is no, because nobody pushed it against the bid. What is the name of my YouTube channel? It should be XYZ with 3 E's. But if it's not, I apologize. I'm honestly not too sure. It's the same as your handle, right? My handle here is XYZ, like in
Probably.
the chat.
But your channel could be named something different.
Hi. Yeah. The name, I don't know, maybe like XYZ trades, like as the Yeah, I'm be honest, guys. I don't know. I'm new to this whole like social presence, online presence, content making stuff. So I think if you just probably search up XYZ trades, you'll see something, I'm guessing. Or just go on the Twitter. My Twitter for sure is at XYZ trades with 3 E's. I know that much. So that's all I can give you. And hey, I've been busting my ass making content, so it's pretty hard. If there is enough interest, I'll continue. I do want to keep them short too, so I apologize. They're kind of long. They could be 3, 4 minutes. It's really hard to relay a lot of the nuances that comes with like order flow trading, so it takes a bit.
So yeah, it's hard to translate some of those concepts into short form content.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really difficult. So yeah, I'm sure that hurts the interest a lot. You see something that's long, even like a Twitter post, right? It's like, what is this? 3 minutes? Forget it. Maybe if they can pop it, I'll cover one. But if I cover one, it'll run 300 more points. Tape is really turning here. All right, I'll cover one. We're down to two. Please cover. Kane, are you back in? You covering one here? Yeah, and then you're gonna see like 300 lots on the bid waiting to get filled.
The
Yeah,
the whole
really
chat
awesome.
is long, just waiting for you to close your trade so that
Every
we can get
Hey, if you
it
guys throw in enough
rocking.
likes, I'll cover it.
We don't have enough likes. You and I are going to be streaming forever.
What are we at? Like 50?
110.
Oh man. Nobody likes us. It is what it
They're
is.
saving all their likes for Stowe, apparently. Shocker. I mean, I would.
I do. When I see everybody else, I don't like it. Until I see Stowe. Then I'm like, yeah, I like this. Yeah, at least Kane likes us.
Thanks, Kane. I did like your stream with Leo this morning. Like I did hit the thumbs up button to make sure. I'm a good boy. I am. I did my job.
Well, it was supposed to rocket after I covered one, but
No,
I
you
think
needed to hit
the black
you needed to
van's
hit the
onto
button.
us. Can we take it out of these lows? Kane's talking to himself in the chat again.
Kane, you are the market maker. You're the algo too, I'm pretty sure, in 8 minutes. It's actually just you.
Kane is, yeah, I found out this morning, Kane is the manipulation algo.
You
Designed to do one thing only, and it's just to manipulate for no reason. Yeah, in about 7 minutes, if I'm not stopped out yet, I'm taking my money wherever it is, because hey, Kane's here. He's not just a ghost today that tells us when it's algo time.
let's see which way this consolidation breaks.
Kane, are
But
you
we'll,
aware that they use your soundbite every single day at algo time? Are you getting royalties? I hope you're getting royalties. You're like Bruce Buffer. Can't talk about it. He's trademarked it.
see if they're gonna break it.
Yeah, production's in the chat. Everybody be careful. Covering here.
All right, Kane's covering, so we're probably gonna take out overnight high now.
He's passing the baton.
They're gonna do it
Now
during
it's
his
time.
algo.
Yeah, that's a secret who's really manning production right now, who's um sound biting us. Still haven't found out who it is. And it might go well. It's not said to be nice. Yeah, that's why it's called the manipulation. Today I learned manipulation is everything and nothing at the same time.
I learned manipulation was a real term that's used. Did not know that.
What's my daily loss limit? On my personal, it's generally around 5 to 6K.
There we go.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's big.
Folks, we need 10 more likes for X, Y, and I to be able to leave this stream today
Yeah,
and
guys,
actually
please,
go
we need to leave
spend
this range
time
to
with our friends and
Lamb's
family.
desk.
So if you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe. The NinjaTrader team has given you a ton of great content today, not including necessarily the two of us trading, but two great traders as far as Kane and Leo trading this morning and followed up with after us with the great and legendary Jared Tendler and a wonderful trading psychology session with our friend Stowe. So if you have not already,
Yeah,
please
that
hit
morning
subscribe.
stream was fire. That was a really good stream.
It was.
Kane, Kane just texted me. He said that if we pull up back into IB low, he'll post a video on Twitter of himself screaming into a pillow.
I
That's
mean,
just
what
what
I'm
he told
going
me.
to do, if we don't leave this range, I'm going to have to scream into a pillow.
That is false news.
False news.
Nick, are they gonna do it?
I think
They've already tested the
after all
downside.
this,
No one
after
was there on
basically
the downside.
after several attempts of keeping me out of trying to get into this long, because waiting to see if we retest the week open again for a better entry, because I guess that's just who I am. But I would hope, since I missed it, that they're going to absolutely send this back up.
You are false news. Dude, there's a lot of absorption still. Just give it up, man. Just let it go. We've got less than 3 minutes before I have to cover this thing. Yeah, the thing I don't like is when we pull back from this area that's like seeing a lot of absorption, they're not heavy selling. So there's no springboard, right? I'm just hoping that the buying can sustain enough to just rip through this passive offer. But there's no seller getting trapped up here. They're not stepping up. So
I mean, I don't want to say you and I killed volatility on this session, but look at when we came on camera and the price action ever since.
are we?
We had that small little sell where you kind of got out of your long.
Yeah.
They took you out, and then we've just been consolidating.
I mean, it is quite a few points in, but compared to the rest of the day, it feels like nothing. It feels like it's only 12, 15 points. They got to give us more than that. But
I
yeah, I
mean,
don't
the
like that.
range in this consolidation was better than the entire session on Monday.
Yeah, they came up and they chewed through that offer and they chewed through some more, and now we're back in here. Not against aggressive selling, which is not what I like.
Like, am I supposed to sell 25s and cover at 20s?
I'm tempted to cover one. That might do the trick. That might do the trick. We'll see. Okay, I'm gonna cover another and move this to break even because if it comes back, time is up. We've got 1 minute. So yeah, hopefully this
Ooh,
goes. If not, I gotta get out anyway.
you're gonna have
So
to
we got two
head
lots
out.
off. Woohoo. Cover please.
Cover. They want it to be sent.
Yeah, I'm not looking to hold this into the algo.
I don't know how the algo is going to treat everybody, to be honest.
Well, the only one that knows is Kane, and he's flat. I coded it. They wouldn't let him outside of the van until he coded it, so he did it. If we had a bit more time in the day, I do think we can get a pretty good squeeze, man, but we're out of time.
I know.
Attention traders, it's algo time.
Thanks, Kane.
All right.
It's going to be higher or lower.
Not
Yes.
left? You didn't program the algo to go left?
Back and to the left.
Back into the left. It's gonna go into the previous contract. All right. So that it got pretty close to this break-even stop. And now we're gonna get that video of Kane screaming into a pillow.
Kane, I think we need to reprogram the algo. We still didn't even leave the range.
Can you guys give us more likes so they'll let us leave?
They're
You
gonna
guys ain't going nowhere.
Jim
That's
hunting
such a
us
good
on
soundbite, man.
vacation. That is one of the best ones, honestly. That is my favorite. But we do have enough likes to be able to go
Leave?
outside today. So thank you guys.
Kane's in the back end of the algo right now. They're really gonna fail this upside again?
Yep.
Actually had a pretty decent open profits up there, huh?
Yeah, you had that nice little pop to the
But
80s.
nah, I'm on this risk free right now. We're looking for 300 points.
Do it.
300 or zero. I liked 7 times already. As long as it's an odd number. Do I hold past close? Never, because when when I first started options trading, man, having position on after the close, it just doesn't sit well, man.
You just
It
stare at your
doesn't sit
phone.
well. So yeah, I want to be mentally free. It's too dicey. And I never even opened up the charts for Globex session. So yeah, I don't want to monitor it. I don't even look at it. It's too slow. It
I mean,
drains me.
this was a great day until power hour. No, an entire hour, and we moved basically 10 points in ES.
Tried to make it interesting, trying to grab some longs, and they're just like, who is this guy? Hater of the overnight low. You want to break free? You gotta ask Kane. He's the guy with the size that can really push this thing. So yeah, Nick and XY are the vol killers. It's possible. It's possible that they might never let us get on stream again.
I know. We're done.
Kane said we're stuck in this.
Kane, can you have the algo fire again at the 5-minute mark, please?
Reload the algo. Just reload it. Just have you tried turning it off and on?
Yeah, just unplug it and plug it
Active
back.
selling algo lifts at 401. That's manipulation, isn't it?
I do think isn't our fearless leader about to be in front of a microphone again at the close?
Is he?
I think so. Yep.
Well, we're about to get algo part
says-
2 in a
All it
minute.
says is Trump speaks, no context, which I guess you never need context.
All right, all right.
Come on. Let's let XY get this runner.
I mean, look, even if we break this range, if it doesn't spike all the way up to like 950, no justice. 402 is very hard to code. Yeah, that's master manipulation. That's illegal.
It actually breaks.
Yeah, last time Kane did that, oil went negative.
Yeah, that's who actually was responsible.
Yeah, so he had to turn it off and turn it back on. How big is this guy's sell order?
I mean, look at the distribution on the session that we've built down here.
Yeah, dude, how big is this sell order?
There we go.
Not big enough.
Thank you, Kane.
Kane turned it off and turned it back on. All right, let's put a limit order up here. This is not asking for that much, right?
What'd you say?
This is fair. It's,
Yeah,
it's right under VWAP. I think it's fair.
with 5 minutes to go.
It's fair.
Maybe back to IB low. 920s.
Hmm. Now I'm like, maybe I should just take my 50. But no. No, my other two lots died for this.
Died, so this one could be set free.
Yeah. They died for this.
They were just waiting for you to cover, then flatten out
Oof.
completely.
Come on. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for me to hold through the 910s if it starts stalling there. I'll say that much right now. $31 lots waiting to get filled in the 80s right here. I hope they don't. I hope they don't fill them and just skip them over, make them chase price.
God, they're still trying.
Guys, I've been watching your stream for 15 minutes and I don't know if the price has moved. Was it frozen? What is this thing?
Kane had to unplug it and plug it back in. I'm about to do the same with my
No,
chart.
Stowe, we're doing a static back testing session right now.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, we're just doing a little back testing there. Just in time. You're just in time.
That's good. Maybe I could pump this for you. Do you need me to sing? I'm not really feeling that today, but I'll do it for you. XY.
I mean, they have the sound bite.
Oh, good.
Just
That's
as
true.
good, right?
That's just as good.
Come on.
How are you doing, buddies? You doing good?
Good.
Doing all right.
It's been a good day.
I'm trying to get a 300-point runner, but
Oh, okay.
I think it's a little more difficult than it sounds.
What did this day do? Just sell? It pretended like it was going to sell off and then just chose to consolidate in a different 20-point range.
It also pretended
Literally.
like it was going to, hit a new all-time high before the 4th of July and make America very happy. And of course, that was quickly taken away from us. XY.
Well, it's only Wednesday.
I'm taking it. I'm out.
Attaboy.
I'm taking my ball. And I'm leaving.
Nice job. Nice job.
So I'm fired
made
up for
the
this
ultimate
next session.
sacrifice so that we can have an extra 30 points, 30 whole points. Amazing.
I'm stoked for this next session too, Nick. I assume you've read Jared's books too.
Yeah, it's one of the few audiobooks that I really do enjoy throughout the year. I think there's certain time periods that traders go through, and it's always good to kind of reaffirm. There's certain chapters in Jared's book that are always like relevant to me at different times. And I always joke, I seem to somehow find myself in a drawdown around Thanksgiving. So as I'm putting up Christmas lights, it tends to be the audiobook that's in my headphones as I'm doing that task.
Yep, same. Actually, maybe unknown to a lot of traders that watch this show. I mean, well before I read The Mental Game of Trading, I read The Mental Game of Poker, which is a very, very common book that is passed around the poker world. I put it up there with, the Harrington on Hold'em books, all the other big stalwart names. So yeah, I'm super. I mean, how often is it that you get to talk to somebody who wrote a book that you read and read all the time?
Right.
That's pretty cool. So I'm excited. It's gonna be better than I didn't trade at all today, and I feel like I didn't miss a thing. So I feel like I'm really winning this Wednesday right now.
That's like literally the opposite of me. I feel like I've traded,
That's why I've been trading since 6 a.m. this
dude.
time.
I've been losing this Wednesday.
Is it Christmas already?
It's Christmas, yeah.
It's December already. Yeah, I feel like I've been training for 2 weeks straight. So,
There's the bell, homies. You're saved.
and there's that little
Um,
push.
well, yeah, I get to play gym again today. Um, yeah, you guys get to be done and go home. Great job, We appreciate the order flow. This feels a little strange to say about myself. Yeah, we appreciate the order flow guys coming in here every afternoon and making it fun. Uh, right?
Yeah, see you in the group chat, Stowe.
All right, I'll see you in
Like
the
the three
chat.
of us
Yeah,
talk all the time, and now we're doing this.
right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, chat. Give it up for XY and Nick. They do a great job as always. And yeah, we're gonna turn this baby over to the one and only Jared Tendler. So thanks, dudes.
Thanks, chat. See you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
All right, all
Jared,
right.
hey buddy.
So, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Nice to meet you on the camera thing.
Yeah, I suppose this is more official than the behind the scenes, get to know you kind of thing. We'll go perhaps a little bit deeper than we did in that conversation.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
and that's pretty cool that you found me from poker. Did you play much poker back in the day?
Yeah, yeah. I used to play poker all the time. My grandfather taught me how to play poker when I was a little kid, and I've always had like a drive to get good at it. Once I found out that you could have some sort of edge and that it existed, that that was all I needed to know. Um, so yeah, I ripped through all the Harrington books. I was big into tournament poker and like, the Chris Moneymaker era and lost all my full tilt money on Black Monday. I did it all, man.
It was a brutal day for a lot of people. Those that
Yes.
back
Yep.
in 2011. Ironically, the mental game of poker was released the day before. So,
Whoa, was it really?
yeah, talk about
Oh
dealing with some
man.
bad luck, but making the most of it. I think I became more battle tested as a result of that. So,
No, that's fair. That's
yeah.
fair. That's so cool, man. And it's so great to talk to you. Yeah, like I said, it really is such an honor truly to be able to have this conversation with you. And then like thanks so much for doing this. The channel really appreciates it. The chat really appreciates it. So truly
Yeah, for
thank you.
sure. For sure. Well, listen, I'm happy to be here and maybe kind of before you and I dive in, I'm excited that this is the first episode of Retail Therapy. An opportunity for traders just like you in the chat watching right now to tackle some of the big emotional blocks, holding you back, whether it's from Stowe today or from others that come on the channel. You're going to hear about the ups and downs, the setbacks, really in a very unscripted conversation. This is like live coaching. There's nothing scripted about this. I do my preparation ahead of time to have some ideas, much like you all will do your preps before, the market opens. But, we're here to kind of dive in and see where the opportunities are. And that's really what my coaching is all about. So for those that don't know me, I am, Jared Tendler, the author of The Mental Game of Trading. And I have been coaching traders for over a decade. I've been coaching poker players for over 15 years, and I've been coaching golfers for over 2 decades. So I've been around, a variety of high performance industries for a very long time. And in the trading space, I've worked with, plenty of institutional professionals, fund managers, and many retail traders just like yourselves. And what you're going to see in retail therapy is the behind the scenes work that's going to help you to create those breakthroughs in your trading. So yeah, excited to be here in general and specifically today. So we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, I just want to mention a couple things. Number one, those of you in the chat right now, you have the opportunity to be in Stowe's position in a future session of retail therapy. So you'll see kind of pinned to the top of the chat, very, very simple survey. Stowe actually filled it out already. Okay, it just gives me a couple ideas of what we might want to dive into so I can, pick a few of you in the next episode that will be of high value to you and to the channel as a whole, because that's what we're here for, is creating a lot of high value. Number two, uh, at the end of my session with Stowe, I'm going to be answering your questions. So if you have questions for me specifically about problems that you're dealing with, whether it's FOMO, revenge trading, greed, overconfidence, lack of confidence, struggling with routines, burnout, you name it, right? Anything to do with the mental and emotional stuff holding you back, or looking for opportunities to, build better discipline, better focus, endurance, get in the zone more often, access intuition, all that fun stuff. I will be answering your questions at the kind of latter half of the session today, and Stone and I will be answering your questions kind of as we go here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, with that, I think it's time for you and I to dive in here.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Hop on the couch, look under
Yeah.
the hood, see what we can find here.
Sounds good.
So, just for you to know, and just for everybody, I mean, those that aren't super familiar with my book, I mean, I really am after very practical, pragmatic solutions, and also utilizing tools. So this isn't just about advice. This is about developing a strategy. So I think today, my goal is to kind of examine, I think a specific problem that you've outlined here,
Okay.
and work through some of the tools that I use to ensure that we can make it of practical use. Because sometimes the answers create instantaneous change. Other times there's a little bit of progress happening here. So yeah, what you see here is something I call mapping your pattern. And I think as we begin our conversation here, let's kind of take a close look at the escalation of this problem for you.
Okay.
So, as you best described it in the survey, it seems like there's a fairly specific pattern that happens when you're doing well, where you get a little overeager, and it tends to kind of bite you in the backside. So,
Yes, I am specifically extremely like this is my one. I mean, I've got a million holes in the game, but big hole that still exists in the game is winner's tilt will show up always for me. Yep.
and just out of curiosity, was that an issue in poker too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, tilt much easier to manage in poker. Um, yeah, I already don't like losing, so when you can do nothing but lose in some of those variant spots, it's easy to walk away.
Yeah.
But yeah, winner's tilt, giving it back, always been a poker issue for me as well.
Okay. So that actually means that it's probably like poker was decent practice for you to get better at winners tilting, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and in trading, I think we generally would categorize it as greed. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, for everybody else, you know, I know that greed is a very commonly described problem, but when you really look at greed, it's really just your aspirations have gotten a little excessive. Your motivation perhaps has gotten a little excessive. Your confidence has gotten a little excessive because your job is obviously to make money. So, like, where is that kind of fine line between, trading your edge, trading your system, being discretionary, finding some opportunities to maybe kind of go beyond that strategy or system, and where it now kind of starts to, cost you. And that line is something that only you can really define. And we can kind of do that tactically. I think we'll, as we kind of go through this worksheet, we'll examine that a little bit. But
Yeah.
more importantly, we want to look at the specific escalation that occurs for you so you can really see it happening in real time. I suspect that your awareness of this problem is not as good as it could be.
Okay. Great.
So, as best you can describe, like what do you see when winter stilts, greed, overconfidence, however you want to describe it, shows up for you?
It becomes, yeah, greed's tricky because it's not really a money motivational thing.
Okay.
It is a winning motivational thing, maybe mixed with a like desire to do a really good job. And this is kind of something I've struggled ever since I moved from like a real I can say a real job to trading. Because trading's not really a real job in a lot of ways.
You
Because
mean you
you're
don't get a
not
paycheck?
no, I mean, yeah, you don't get a paycheck. I mean, you kind of do. But it's not it's so process oriented and not results oriented at all versus most of the jobs that I've ever had have all been work really hard, do a really good job, be rewarded for that instead. But there's no real way to. So when I first started to trade full time, my first problem I ran into was that I sometimes I would be I would have hit my trades for the day and not have any more, but it had only been an hour. And I didn't know what to do with myself because, My lizard brain was still floating around like, well, you've only worked an hour. Do you think that's a work day, dude? Um, so that was the beginning of a weird hurdle to get through. Um, and then the desire to do a really good job just creeps in when I'm already doing one. And I feel like I'm visualizing the market extremely well that day. And that's when I think I start to put my own, thoughts and feelings and expectations into what the market's going to do, which makes it hard for me to see it when it stops doing the thing that I want it to do and starts doing what it wants to do.
Yeah. And so specifically, when you start putting your own thoughts and opinions into the market, um, like what has already happened? Like, what do you think is kind of sparking that for you?
Oh, it's just like it'll happen on, my perfect day setups, which are typically trend day ups with, a proper retest that has been respected, really good price action that I'm able to get in and out of. I've already banked up like a really good buffer of points to work with. And I'm like, okay. Then I start to step back. If it's only been an hour, I'm like, well, if I can work this day, all day, this range could be a 500-point range day, and I can get. So I get out of my process in that part of my process is to not be predictive, and then I find myself becoming predictive somewhere in there, and so my process starts to deteriorate around me, even though me executing the process well is what got me to that spot in the day.
Yeah, yeah. So just for those that were following along here, what I'm trying to do here is kind of gather some information where you see kind of the triggers down below. More pragmatically is this mapping part. Because if you're going to solve a mental game issue, you've got to be able to see it happening in real time. Frankly, look, if you look at the edge that you're deploying in the markets, like it's because you're seeing in real time the opportunities. Hindsight does you no good, except maybe you can build up enough patterning to generate that foresight, right? That's the back testing process, develop your strategy, etc. But it's all trying to generate foresight. That's how you take advantage of the opportunities. So
Yep.
right now, we've already begun to kind of identify some of the more subtle components to this where,
Okay.
because if you can see the early warning signs, you can capture it faster
Yes.
and take advantage of it and correct it faster. The larger the emotion gets, the larger the problem gets, the harder it is for you to recover in real time. You're going to have to take breaks. It might mean you have to come back the following day. To me, I think if you're getting excited and you're seeing a direct cost on your execution at that point, right? It's going to be hard for you to recover quickly. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but now recognizing that you're putting your own thoughts and opinions into the market, you will kind of say more accurately, starting to become predictive.
Yep.
But like, what's the difference between the predictions in this regard versus when you've gone through your pre-market prep, you have a sense of what the market's going to do? Is it more of a predictive component now versus more of like a probabilistic anticipation, like sense of what's going to happen? How would you
Eh,
distinguish those points?
maybe. I think, well, I mean, honestly, Jared, I don't really put a lot of thought into what I think the market's about to do. So
Okay.
part of my edge and my process is like I kind of eliminate that as much bias as humanly possible until the day starts. So bias is kind of my edge's enemy in a lot of ways. So the fact that it creeps in and I start to fill in the gaps of what's about to happen in the rest of the day is just like the more the more I visualize that, the smaller my edge seems to be, like in direct correlation, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're actually going to create a kind of a zero here in terms of like, all right.
I have so many steps to this problem that it has to start at zero of everyone.
Well, actually, I'm saying zero is ideal.
Oh, okay, good,
I'm
good.
saying like there's no greed here. This is your optimal, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So eliminate as much bias as possible. I guess I'm saying the same thing. Eliminate as much bias as possible. Period. End of story. Right.
Yes.
So, what would be the earliest indications? Right. Is now like having that line of like this could be a 500-point range day. Now all of a sudden, that's more of like predictive optimism, excitement that like this could be a huge day.
Oh, yes.
Where and how does the bias start to come in a more subtle way that we could define as maybe levels 1 or 2 here?
I would say like if I'm yeah, normally a big part of my process too, if I'm going to try to catch a trend, which is the day that this problem sets up on,
Hmm.
um, I will have not taken an ad at a place that would have been maybe a B trade, maybe a marginal ad, and that ad would have worked. And so that plants a seed into my brain and into my bias that like, okay, the next marginal ad, you can go ahead and take that because this is going to be one of those nice, easy, grindy days where you can get away with adding to positions earlier. That's a big one for sure.
That phrase, you can kind of get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're getting away with stuff, you feel like, you feel like variance is on your side. You feel like the dealer's on your side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep. Okay. It's so crazy to me like how um the kind of the end of statements is where the gold kind of lives.
Oh, cool.
And I say this again for those that are watching, like, journaling is a huge thing for y'all. I mean, and to do that in a very in a way that does not edit like kind of the thoughts, the emotions that you're experiencing. It's very difficult to kind of really solve more complicated problems just in your own head. And you know that it's a more complicated problem if you keep repeating the same mistake again and again, knowing better, right? If this is not a knowledge problem. This is, again, that kind of definition of insanity where you just kind of can't stop it. But again, you're not dumb. Emotions make you dumb, right? But when you're trying to figure out and problem solve this stuff, it's important to write because that's why I think so. You talking this out, you're getting way more detail out than what you sent me in advance, which
Oh
tells
yeah.
me that none of this is really new. It's all kind of in your head, but what you share is oftentimes what you think is most relevant. But when you step back and start to look at it, we get to examine some other pieces. So what you just said was, it starts to feel like variance is on my side.
Yep.
Okay, so that line I think really crystallizes what's beginning to deviate in your mentality, where that it's like a prediction. Variance on my side. I'm predicting everything kind of in that line, in that favor, but there's
Yep.
part of you that believes that variance is on my side. Can you feel or sense what that is, kind of in a all right, well, I've tried to eliminate as much bias as possible, but now I feel like variance is on my side. I'm not consciously thinking that way.
Yeah.
But what's the first indication that you're actually believing that?
Yeah, I'm taking B trades and expecting them to work. Like, I mean, I know my soul, the variance is on no one's side. It does not care about what time it is or how many times it's gone against you or for you. Like, I'm aware of how neutral variance is. But yeah, I float away from that knowledge and into my cloud of, this is going to be an exceptional trading day. I'm going to smash this whole range. Yeah, stuff like that. I get out of my it seems to be something I have to go back into like every 6 months. I actually just had to do it the other week in front of everybody is I have to go back to base hits and understand that, this is where my edge lives. It lives in here.
Okay.
But yeah, I drift away from it sometimes.
This is why. This is why. Okay.
Sick.
So again, um, if you're managing a problem, which
Hmm.
is again, this is not so incapacitating that it's causing you to fail, right?
Sure.
This is uh, a big enough problem that we're talking about it, but one that I think a lot of traders get sucked into thinking that they can just kind of manage it. And as you said, you kind of will fall off track. You'll, you know, not realize that you ended up in Ohio as you were trying to drive to Pennsylvania. Like, oh wow, okay, not the end of the world. You kind of take the detour and get yourself back here, but it's costly.
Yes.
Uh, so there's a fundamental difference between managing a problem and solving a problem. As traders, your goal is to have as much of that unbiased, clear mind, receptivity. You don't want to be imprinting things into the market because it is actually kind of clouding your vision, clouding your judgment, and you are factually not only performing poorer today, but then that limits your ability to progress over time. So your growth curve
Yep.
actually flattens. So there's a short-term cost, there's a long-term cost. When you solve the underlying cause of this issue or any issue you're facing, right? And I'm not saying it like kind of happens instantaneously, but as you kind of work the corrections in, as I like to say, kind of chopping down a tree with an axe, right? We don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
chainsaws here, right? It's like building muscle, right? It's going to take a little bit of work to develop, but you're already strong. So we're just
Yep.
trying to make you maybe a little bit more functional, right?
No, yeah.
So
That
the
makes sense.
mandatory of the
It's kind of
problem.
like anytime I try to put time I try to plug a hole in the game, I my focus isn't like never doing it again. I try to just make the time between when I made that last mistake and when I make it again a little further each time that I do it. Um, and that to me is progress. I don't know if that is a cheap way to call that progress, but
It is, but I'm guessing that the way that you do that is by shutting things down prematurely.
okay, possibly,
Like,
yeah.
like
Yep.
you probably recognize these warning signs. You're like, all right, I'm done for the day. I'm going to stop. I'm not taking 9 trades today. I'm only taking 2 or 3.
Yep. Yeah. No, I sized down. I put the walls up. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which again, I think relative to just like being blind to it and steamrolling it, yeah, that is the correct adjustment to make.
Okay.
But that's not the long-term like tactic or the long-term way that you want to be trading. You want to be free of this issue, so you're just able to actually take advantage of these days with more precision.
Yeah. Okay.
Size up in spots where the risk makes sense to.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, so this like taking B trades and expecting them to work. I don't know. Have you recognized that before as being, essentially like a warning signal for you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can often look back and be like, yep, that's an early entry because I was excited about that other early entry that worked and I didn't take it. Yep. That's
Yeah.
a classic one.
Yeah. And early entries are like the classic way you identify those B trades.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it's not about hindsight too. I mean, you can see it. You know when you're in a bad trade as soon as you're in it. So yeah.
And so from a mental, emotional, physical standpoint, right? So, those that are watching this, right? There's also these kind of actions and behaviors. We can be recognizing the physical signs as well as the mental ones, right? The specific thoughts you have, the
hmm
feeling that's changing. Um, do you recognize kind of the mental, emotional, physical sense of like, all right, well, when you're taking B trades and expecting them to work, how might you recognize that you have deviated from that kind of optimal, unbiased state?
I don't know if I have a physical manifestation of it that I can really pull from. I do stay pretty chill and calm just because I keep my size and risk under control
Do
and don't
you
really.
do you scroll through charts faster? Do you change time frames? Are you maybe a bit more fixated on
Yeah, I can
one
say
chart
that I'm
over
definitely.
another?
Yeah, I would say that I'm definitely more focused on like I will stare at the DOM looking for patterns and static in places that you just like if I'm in a bad position, I'll try to find some sort of order flow or some sort of player to show up and help me justify being in there. Yeah, I can say that. That's for sure.
Cool. Okay. And then so anything going through your mind at that point that um, any specific thoughts that you're having that would kind of further uh, highlight that level of greed.
No, I don't think so. I think just looking for that yeah, just looking for that confirmation. So, I have a bunch of different tools that I use for execution and yeah, I'll just be staring intently at the side that I want to win. willing price to do what I would like it to do, not what it's about to do.
Ah,
And also becomes like a order flow bias and it makes you look at the DOM in the middle of nowhere when you have no business looking at what those
yeah.
orders are doing.
Okay. I guess it's not a specific thought, but it's sort of as if you're willing price. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so we've kind of gotten the early signs here, which again, I think for everybody else here, it's vital. You can't stop what you can't see. And if you wait too long, the motion gets too big. Some of you are just going to get completely steamrolled by it. And the mistakes you're going to make, especially if we're dealing with FOMO or revenge trading or, fear, anger issues, right? They're going to come so hot and so intensely that those mistakes are going to happen. Um, I would suspect for you that, kind of capturing this sort of first, kind of 5 pieces here is enough. Um, I think for our purposes, we'll probably stop here. But for your
Okay.
purpose, I'll send this to you.
Oh,
I
please.
would
Thank you.
I would suggest, kind of looking at what it looks like when it gets bigger, right? You've already sort of shut it down before it kind of gets to this point.
Yeah.
But just imagining, okay, well, if I wasn't managing this problem and I let my the worst side of myself just get unleashed, like what would
Yeah.
that look like? Because we might find another flaw, another bias, another illusion, another wish that's kind of powering this thing. And that's what we're going to do in a second here. But again, just to kind of finish up our conversation now, that's
Okay.
I think the next piece of this puzzle here. Um, so I do see some people asking, Hexen, you're asking, where can you find this file? All these worksheets are freely available on my website, jaredtendler.com/worksheets. But as you can see, it's not a very complicated thing. You just create a list of, 10 items and you're basically just trying to scale it. And if you want to add in this, kind of top piece of what's optimal, it is help. I really do believe it is helpful to identify what your trading looks like at your peak, at your best, because having greater clarity there makes it easier to find what it looks like when it's not, especially the early signs as it begins to kind of tip over the edge.
Yep. Are we in C game territory right now? Is that what we're working on?
Yeah, I would
Kind
say
of.
this is for you, solidly C game territory.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right. So this next tool comes from poker,
Okay.
called the Mental Hand History. It's obviously in the trading book, but the name comes from poker because when I would work with clients, poker clients, I would want them to send me materials, much like a poker player would send a hand history to a coach, right? Hand history in poker is basically just a record of, all the hands. Obviously, you know that, but everybody else may not.
Yep.
So clients would send me a mental hand history, but for all intents and purposes, this is my tool to uncover the root cause of the problem. So look, we're dealing with greed here, or a small version of it. But regardless of the emotion that we're describing, whether it's FOMO or revenge trading or overconfidence, we are not thinking about those emotions as the problem, right? You would not consider the pain you would feel if you jacked up your ankle as the problem, right? The pain is the signal alerting us that there is a problem. So we're
Hmm.
thankful. I know you all aren't thankful for the FOMO and the revenge trading, et cetera, but it does help to orient us to know that there's something that we've got to examine. And the problem with a lot of the ways that many of you, kind of address these issues is we're trying to manage it and control it. But that is a mental process. And when your emotions rise too high, they actually shut down the part of the brain that gives you the power to control that emotion.
Yeah.
So it's
Crazy.
kind of a sadistic way the brain's wired. We got to work around it. And so this is how we work around it. We dig into the problem, identify the root, the real cause, and then correct it. All right. So this was how I had kind of framed the first step, which is just a very clear description of the problem before we started talking. There are times when I'm too eager and excited to trade, and that blocks me from seeing the character of the market change quickly enough. Happens when I get wrapped up in a good day and continue to press my bias, pressing the edges of a trend.
Yep.
Given what we've described now, is there anything else that you'd add to it?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty good. That sums up that
Okay.
big giant leaky hole.
Yeah. So the second step is a hard one, and it's one that oftentimes gets people scrambled. And the reason is because we are often not thinking about these problems as being logical. Right? You're like, oh, this is irrational. I don't know why I'm doing it. Again, it's because I'm stupid. It's because I'm being illogical. And the reality is that you are not crazy. Okay. So everything that happens for logical reasons. You just don't understand what that reason is. Yeah. So that's why we start to begin looking at it. Now, there's a flaw here. There is something wrong. That's why the problem exists. But you can't really figure out what the real flaw is unless you get a good answer here. So, putting on a different part of your brain, Why do you think it makes logical sense that you have this problem or think or feel this way?
Well, I think that this problem first happened when I started to try to learn how to trade something that is trending. Um, and that was a really long process because I had to most of the stuff that um, I learned just by stumbling around YouTube and Twitter and everywhere that you just teach yourself how to trade. Most of that stuff is mean reversion strategies. And when I open myself up to, trend trading in general, um, and how to add at the edges, when to push, like what to look for signal wise, I got into, I kind of abandoned mean reversion trading and was only really focused on learning and executing and getting better and better and better at this other way. Just I think because I was trying to expand my, general like broader playbook. And when this really started to bite me, and when I realized that I was blind to a lot of these days, is when I would get so wrapped up in like trying to find the way to execute that edge and push the edge of a trend day when it was ending. But I was so focused on trying to learn it, like not necessarily win but just like get good at it. So I think that became my primary motivation for a while. And that's what cost me a lot of, the mean would be reverting against me for quite a while. And I would just be eating it, trying to learn this new strategy and learn this new way.
So I would buy your answer if you hadn't already kind of tipped your hand and said this was a problem in poker.
Mm,
So
that's fair.
I'm not saying that what you're describing is wrong.
Okay.
It's I think correct if we're examining this more from the technical side of things.
Okay.
And your answer is generally what I get, right? As a trader, your mind is very well oriented towards looking at the sort of technical side of this problem and not really looking at the emotional flaws that are driving it.
Yeah. Well, I want to win, and um, and one of the easiest ways, one of the biggest ways to win, not necessarily the easiest, is to jam a trend day extremely hard for the entire day. And if you get a big trend day that runs and you're able to ride that whole thing, that's a big win. Not only can it make your month, but like that's a good self affirmation. You can feel really good at the end of that. So,
Yep.
so that yeah, that could be a more personal motivation there,
And
more
so when you think
ego
about
driven
how it
stuff.
showed up in poker, does that seem similar?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I love taking old guys' money. It's my favorite thing.
Well, if somebody's going to hand you money, we can't walk away from it.
Right.
Uh, so what do you make of the line that you said earlier that you believe that variance is behind you?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to hear it outside of the context of, looking at charts and being in the heat of that moment. Of course, it's not behind you. Variance doesn't like anybody.
But there's a part of you that kind of believes, wishes, hopes that it is.
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah, if you can get variance and a trend day behind you on the same day, look out, man.
Yeah. Um, which one is it though? Because there's some pretty decent differences, and sometimes it's hard to gauge. And again, for those at home, try to gauge the difference between believe that variance is behind me or I wish and hope that it was. Which one do you think which camp do you fall into?
Oh, I mean, it would probably be wish because I know for a fact that variance isn't behind me.
Yeah, yeah. And so we're gonna kind of deviate a little bit and just say, okay, well, why do you think that your mind would kind of default into that wish?
Yeah, I mean, if I have variance behind me, then it's going to allow me to execute extremely poorly and still have good results. Um, I can be, you can get away with a lot of ads that you probably shouldn't get away with normally. Um, all you need is a little luck, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, it would probably be an easier path through that trading day if variance was behind me, if that was humanly possible.
Well, easier path through the trading day, and an easier path to like just like, kind of significant outsized returns?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Just out of curiosity, how does it feel to hear you say that?
No, it's cool. Well, now you got me thinking about the last sentence I say every time I end a thought. So I'm really
Well,
focused on
the
that.
reason, the main reason I asked here is just like sometimes it can just feel like a little bit odd to say these things out loud when you're kind of digging stuff out of the back of your mind. You're like, man, like this is absurd. Like how am I thinking about this? But if you're saying it's cool and it actually, fits, then that's helpful.
No, I think it is. Yeah. That was an interesting observation. I hadn't dug like 3 steps into that before. So I didn't realize that maybe that was part of my motivation there too. So that's something to definitely.
Yeah. And do you have is any part of you kind of default to being a little bit lazy or procrastinating, anything like that?
Um, yeah, I would love to procrastinate everything if possible. I grew up as an extremely procrastinating kid, and I have like a rigorous discipline, and I have to, otherwise. And if I slip out of a habit, then the whole thing will definitely come sliding down. Like
Yep.
if I miss a run, then it gets a lot easier to miss the next run. So yeah, I don't procrastinate anything now, and I work extremely hard. And yeah, any sort of backslide into that scares me for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of this here, right? Just the the remnants of a ghost.
Okay.
Like there's just a party that wants kind of an easier path, rather than developing the rigor, which
Yeah.
again, not black and white. It's just taking that next level that you got to earn and you can't get it any other way than in
Yep.
these moments. And so again, here we are talking about, look, being overeager, having a little bit of greed, a little overconfidence, kind of pushing edge and bias. And, you know, it doesn't really kind of bite you until those losses. So the losses end up being the thing that you might focus more on. But the
Mm,
bigger cost could actually really be in the progression that we're talking about here, because there's just a part of you that's taking your foot off the gas. And on these big trend days, you're not as ruthless as you need to be in the precision. Now, I get that it's kind of hard to know where those lines are on those days, but like we're not
sure.
talking about the obvious. You're saying these are B trades that you know immediately are wrong. So that's the fat that can easily get cleaned up when you kind of take on, and I'm kind of jumping here, right? Step three is the why is that logic flawed? But I'm kind of jumping to another correction, um, which is that you can see these trend days as opportunities to become more precise as a trader. Uh,
Yeah.
Cutting out
Okay.
the fat provides opportunity for you today, but more importantly, it provides opportunity for you in the future. Because if you have to stop defending against these types of trades, these types of mistakes, then it means that your mind is now freed up to learn something else and get better at something else.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I'm extremely aware that I'm dulling my own edge when I'm in these moments for sure. So that's a really positive way to think about that. See
Cool.
this as an opportunity to become a better trader instead
Exactly.
of, okay, cool. Cool.
All right.
I like that.
But let's find there's one other piece of the puzzle here.
Okay.
So when you just kind of look at this, what we've described, like what to you feels like the flaw? I want to win. It's easier to win by jamming these trend days. Day can make my month. Wishing the variance is behind you. So like, what do you see as kind of flawed? Because the flaw is ultimately what we're trying to correct as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have to get that dumb variance idea out of there because it's just fiction. It doesn't exist. So I mean, that's the flaw, big time.
So it's fiction that I could possibly know when variance is truly behind me.
Yeah, totally.
Um, just to be dramatic, could we say like this is, and for anybody, less than 10 years old here, we'll say spoiler alert, um, that this is you believing in Santa Claus.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anything else that you see that's flawed here? I guess the way I would frame kind of like the correction we came up with around, wanting things easy, right? The easy way
Yes, right. Okay.
has
Yep.
actually made things harder for me.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's been true my entire life also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that tracks that it's still like subconsciously doing that in tiny aspects. Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
And Sean Hazel, I apologize for that. Yeah, Santa Claus thing. He might be real. I mean, he's as a construct, yeah. So just to kind of round this up, like we're just now, so the corrective kind of piece here. Okay, so there's obviously some insight you gained here, but this correction is going to be aggressively applied when you recognize these early warning signs, right?
Yeah.
We're connecting the dot between, all right, well, as soon as I start maybe, being more focused on Dom, looking for patterns, not even taking a B trade, right? But like, maybe thinking, right? You said not taking an ad and that could have worked, and then the next one is where you can take, and it'll be an easy day. I think anytime you have the word ease in your mind, like
Mm,
that alone might be a trigger, or
okay.
like
Good. To,
an indicator, not a trigger, an indicator
yeah.
that you need to be aggressive at correcting this emotional reaction. And, that's where this, corrective piece comes in here. It's like, all right, dude, variance ain't behind you. Or sorry, I can't know if variance is behind me.
Sure. Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, it could be, it could be. And if it is, like, cool. But if it's
Right.
not, well, then I'm not gonna get, kind of blown up because of it. And more pragmatically, it's like, all right, I don't want things to be easy here. I want to take the opportunity to improve technically and mentally because you've got the opportunity to do both at
Hmm.
that moment, right? And again, so this is the purpose of doing this mapping so that you can be aggressive. And so yeah, like let's say you do it, you have that logic and you kind of buy into it, eases back some of that emotion and you kind of get back to some better trading. But then, a couple more wins stack up and all of a sudden that trigger comes again. So you got to be ready to be aggressive at applying it again and again. It is kind of like being in the gym, lifting weights.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as like focused and progressive as workouts are. Like you just don't know when the mental workout, so to speak, is going to happen. You just have to be ready. So print these things out, make the reminders very, very clear.
Cool.
And then when, you know, you're doing really well, then you've got the opportunity to make sure you continue to do well the right way.
No, this is good. Thank you for helping me dig in and identify this. This in such detail. I do have a lot of these problems that I work on and then have those little trigger points that are like, everybody has a little alarm bell they should set when they know they're about to do one of their leaky game things. Like I said, if I sit down on Monday, this is an old problem I haven't had in years, but I would sit down on Monday and be like, yeah, let's go. I'm so excited. It's Monday. And now that for me is a trigger to, okay, you got to get off the desk and go distract yourself. You can't be this excited to trade because and then I get back into the same. All of my problems have a lot of these common threads that are in here too. So
Yeah.
that's good to
I
know.
mean, you bring up a key point, right? It's like we're talking about mostly about this being intraday, but I find that greed and overconfidence is sort of most consequential, at the end of days and as they kind of carries over.
Mm,
Concept I call accumulated emotion.
okay.
Like you're not starting the day kind of with your glass empty, right? And so
Right.
the way in which you are grinding and thinking about your success and the money they're making, et cetera, like after hours, you just got to be aware of how that's carrying over to the following day. And I'm not saying go celebrate and have a great time. If you have, best trading day ever, you have a great month, you got, doing really well. You just got to make sure that there's a line that you draw and you're like, all right, well that day is done because frankly, the success I've had from a P&L standpoint has absolutely no relevance
Yeah.
to how I trade tomorrow. In fact, this is the key. My process is the only thing that you get to carry over. You carry over emotion, process gets damaged. You carry over, less emotion, greater clarity on what you're trying to do, well, process has an opportunity to improve. So
That's so
that's the
good.
thing. You don't get to carry over P&L. It has no relevance on future. Performance. The only thing that has relevance is the clarity and the quality of your process and execution.
That's good. And that's awesome. That's so well put. And then, maybe I can focus on, that can be my motivation as something like, why not try to carry something tangible into the next day and something as opposed to something intangible into the next day.
And you're saying like process becomes the thing that's tangible.
Yeah. So like instead, that can be a motivation to look for opportunities to improve process throughout the day and not necessarily improve points.
Right.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Look, I mean, and
Hey, what you wrote this book? Pretty good at this, Jared.
not my first rodeo.
Mm.
It's wild to think it's been 20 years, man. I mean, it's had a lot of conversations. And I will say the thing that I've gotten the best at in that time frame is just being faster at identifying those flaws. So again, for those that are home, don't uh, despair if it's harder for you to be as reflective and as precise as we are here. Again, that's why I'm going to bring more of you on in the future. It's why we have these sessions so you can begin to do this kind of problem solving on your own. And yeah, at this point, throw some questions in the chat. I'll start to examine, other issues too here. But part of the process here is to help you to become better problem solvers. And go away from, I think, the biggest mistake that traders have, which is thinking that they know what their problems are.
Yeah, that's
And so
probably true.
it's very, very obvious like what's happening, but I don't think you really understand, what's at the heart of it. So you've been great, man. Appreciate you kind of being the guinea pig here and jumping in here
That's
and
awesome. No,
dig our
thank you
way
so
through.
much. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you so much for the time. Yeah, I'm gonna bounce. You guys can ask Jared a question. I wanted to kick off. Jared, do you want me to kick? I have a question my friend sent me to ask you. Of course, when I
Sure,
got the
yeah.
opportunity to talk to you, everyone was like, "Are you serious? You get to talk to Jared on the TV?" Yeah. So my friend asked me to ask, and this can be your first question. You can dive into Q&A after this.
Sure.
So the question is, you often hear the saying, you should cherish your good days because they don't last forever, and be looking for when the bad days are happening because the good days are ahead. It's easy to say this, but how would one go about actualizing this saying in real life and putting it into practice? Any sort of mental exercises that could help get into the mindset of cherish the winning days and then slog through the losing days, I think is the question.
Yeah, so actually there was a question in here earlier from Norseman. Any tips on what to include when journaling?
Oh yeah.
And so I actually think this is a kind of a great pivot, to that question as well. Like many traders, many people are just not well trained at looking for the positive stuff. And so, journaling is a great way to do that. So, my advice is to give yourself a few questions that kind of prompt the journaling, day in and day out. It's, I think, kind of hard at times to just, open up a blank sheet of paper, whether it's, handwritten or on or a Word doc or whatever, and just start typing about kind of what you're experiencing. When you have some prompts, it makes it a little bit easier. So, for example, you could ask yourself, all right, like, what did you do well today? Not even necessarily from a P&L standpoint, from a process execution standpoint. What did you do well? What did you improve on? What did you struggle with? What can you do better tomorrow? Very simple, just begins to kind of get things out. Another prompt could be, do you have some excessive emotions from the day, both positive and or negative?
Mm,
And that begins to kind of get that emotion out so that it's not carrying over to the following day.
that's
But I think
cool.
like anything else, it is like training a muscle. So yeah, if you're gonna get better at kind of cherishing those good days, I think you want to have like details that kind of root or anchor you to them. And I think those questions help to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, man.
Absolutely.
Thank
So
you, chat. I'm gonna sign off and keep listening. But yeah, awesome to talk to you, Jared.
absolutely. Good to see you, bud.
All right, see ya.
All right, everybody. We got about 10 minutes left here, so I'm going to try to crank through. I see a number of questions that are in here. Crank through as many as I can. Again, as a reminder, if you want to apply for live coaching and be in Stowe's shoes, for our next session, just click that link at the top and go fill out that survey. All right, let's see what questions I've got here. All right, Mern Frim, how do I realize what my problem areas are? So I would say the easiest place to start is try to look at the more common trading mistakes that you're making. It's maybe sometimes hard to look at the mental and emotional things that might affect you in a general sense, but we really should only care about the ones that are costing you, at least at the start. So when you look at your maybe biggest losing days, you look at the trades that you know that you shouldn't be taking, but kind of can't help yourself from taking. Actually, if we can get the screen share back up here, I'm going to bring up a graphic that I think will just kind of help make this a little bit clearer for you. This is an image uh, that is vitally important for you all to be aware of and understand. Let's get this thing in here. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson law, right? And the Yerkes-Dodson law describes the relationship between performance and arousal, stress, emotion, energy. They're all kind of interchangeable terms. This concept has been around for over 100 years, so this is not new. This is not mine. Okay. When you're in that, so basically we're describing, peak performance is not neutral. This is why the discussions of, being robotic, being emotionless is just dumb, right? You need emotion to power peak performance. And generally that's from motivation, right? You need to have a lot of energy, inspiration, passion, joy, love, sometimes anger. Fuels, sometimes anxiety, fuels your peak performance, right? So that would be kind of the proverbial 50. But when you get into that 70 to 80 range, where the FOMO, the revenge trading, the anger, the tilt, the overconfidence, the excitement has now kind of caused you to fall too far down this curve, your performance drops, much like as we were just describing with Stowe. But you reach a stage where you're aware of what you're doing is wrong, but you can't stop yourself. So anytime that you're making mistakes that you intellectually know that you shouldn't, but can't stop yourself, do not, do not generate a lot of self-criticism. Don't get pissed at yourself. It's so easy to think there's something wrong with you, that you're dumb. Like your mind can go in a lot of different directions and kind of beat the crap out of yourself. But it's not you. Again, emotions make you dumb. Emotions block you from accessing and utilizing the knowledge that you have. All right. So we can stop the share now here. But that to me is, I think, the biggest thing for you here. Start to look very specifically at the situations where you're making mistakes, especially the ones that you know better than, and then start taking some notes down, much as I was doing with Stowe, right? What thoughts show up around then? What emotions do you see? What actions, behaviors, physical signs? How does your perception of the market change? Right? What technical mistakes are you making? What factors or indicators are you maybe looking at incorrectly? That's the beginning of this. And there's a tool I talk about in the book, and in that in the worksheets on my website, called the data collection worksheet, if you want to be more aggressive with it. But again, you just are kind of gathering up those notes day in and day out, and that begins to help you to create a more cohesive picture of what you're dealing with. All right, great question. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got another room here. All right, Aaron, I need a universal pop-up that says, "Are you sure?" when entering a trade, with similar notes displayed before able to press the yes button. I know you're saying LOL, but I actually think that's a great idea. And it's something that I recommend to clients all the time. So you could actually create not even a pop-up, but just a static Word doc that says, "Are you sure?" and lists out the criteria for your trades, or the factors that might disappear from your mind when you make mistakes, just to give yourself that reinforcement. So I know you kind of said it as a joke, but I agree with you there. All right. I gave the tips on journaling here. All right. We the people. Are there any tips to recognize a loss of high time frame focus? Okay, sorry. That's I don't do any of the trading stuff. There's plenty of fantastic coaches, instructors, traders here. I'm not that guy, right? My expertise is on the mental side of performance, obviously specific with traders. All right. All right. 2020. How do you work through context fragility? Great phrase there. When my process is being blown out of the water by what the market is doing. So I would argue that your decision-making process is your technique. So compare yourself to a professional athlete. Compare yourself, right? You see the golf clubs behind you, right? Golf is the thing that I compete at the highest level, aside from my coaching. I did try to qualify for the US Open, came within a few shots of getting through the second stage. So I still compete at a very high level. I'm not just a hack out there. But my point is, right, my golf swing is equal to your decision-making process. There's a technique to it. We don't often think about it that way, but that's the reality. So, by getting kind of caught in that like context fragility, that tells me that your decision-making process has some weakness to it, right? There's strength, right? There's integrity to it that is lacking. So you actually can again articulate your process in linear fashion. If you have more of a kind of tailored, like you're looking at multiple factors, weighing them based on context and situation, ensuring that all of them are being considered, understanding how they typically get impaired, you can begin to forcibly train it, even when you don't necessarily have to, right? But you're basically preparing yourself for these more difficult trading environments where you're more likely to have that decision-making process break down. And that's, yeah, just basically kind of how you at the driving range, just beating balls, getting better at that decision-making process. All right, trading for keeps. Jared, is it true for someone who doesn't have an edge? Psychology is less relevant, not less important. What I'm saying is process is a more important first step because without it, there's a rationality. So to me, there is nothing more important than strategy and edge. I cannot give that to you, right? The Dalai Lama is a terrible golfer. He's, I know he doesn't play much, he's very old, but get the point, right? Mental mastery does not mean that you're going to be a great golfer. Doesn't mean you're going to be a great trader. You have to have great precision, especially as a day trader, especially as a swing trader. Great precision and understanding of what you're looking at. Where your edge comes from. You cannot create that just from a sound mind and stable emotions alone. So yes, you're 100% right. Your trading expertise is number one, and to me is always number one. Doesn't mean that you're spending the most time on it, but it is the thing that you have to prioritize every single day that you trade. So when you're a new trader, in my mind, the best way to prioritize working on your mental and emotional game, trading psychology, pick the term you want to use, is understanding the maybe more common mistakes that you've experienced elsewhere in performance areas, right? As Stowe described earlier, right? This winner's tilt, this overconfidence, this greed was a problem in poker. So there was evidence of this problem that, if he was doing what I'm suggesting now, he could have gotten ahead of, even as he was describing it became a problem during the early times where he was learning how to trade, trend trade. So, right, by looking back, like, so are you the person who's, struggled with a fear of mistakes, with revenge in other areas, overconfidence, lacking confidence, FOMO? Do you see FOMO elsewhere in your life? Do you have trouble with boredom, being able to be patient? I mean, there are problems that we often experience in other areas of our life. They don't get punished as aggressively as they do in trading. So that's the opportunity. You kind of can get ahead of maybe not necessarily a guarantee of what you're going to see when you start trading and when you have a more clear edge, but it just gives you the ability to kind of get ahead of it. You also can, you know, uh, acclimate yourself to the types of things that you might experience and be able to spot them quicker when the time comes. But yes, without edge, psychology is far, far secondary. Now, with edge, doesn't mean that all of the psychological deviation you experience has to be an indication that there's internal biases or flaws that you are imprinting in the market. There are plenty of instances where emotional reactions can be a signal of weakness in process. And one of the prime examples I give is a client who experienced FOMO because he was factually missing out on edge. And this is a trader who'd been successful for a long period of time and basically figured out that by zooming into a 1 minute chart, once he'd kind of found an area of interest, his entries were able to be more precise and the FOMO went away. So the FOMO was at that point a factual recognition that there was opportunity that he was not able to capitalize on a 5 minute chart. So again, not a deep internal bias, a signal of technical opportunity. So yes, sometimes wading through this mental and emotional stuff can be confusing, but I would argue if you're a seasoned trader, those emotions can be signals for you to, trade better and understand how to. For those of you who are newer or, in those situation, right, there might be more emotional stuff kind of behind the scenes that are working against you. All right, let me see if I can get to one last question here before we got to run. All right, how do you manage your impulses? So this is from Flitch. How do you manage your impulses and actions from further participating with the market after hitting a daily loss limit? I've been bit by trying to recoup some losses, sometimes with worse results. So I actually would suggest you doing exactly what I did here with Stowe today, right? Use that mapping process to gain greater precision in recognizing the earlier warning signs of those impulses, um, you know, let's say prior to kind of hitting your daily loss limit, right? And so, because there's already a buildup there, and so if you have trouble kind of really adhering to that daily loss limit, it tells me that the emotions have already grown too large. And then, as I said, higher brain function shuts down and you're kind of compelled to sort of steamroll the situation. So it's the awareness of those early warning signs and then the aggressive action to correct it early, then using that second step of the mental hand history is the best tool that you can give. All right. Great stuff, everybody. So really appreciate the great questions, Chad. Love being here. Still, thanks so much for being on here and being a good guinea pig. So all of you, look, stay tuned for the next date of retail therapy, and make sure you fill out that survey, and have a chance of kind of participating in the next session. Thanks everybody for being here today. Really happy, really excited, and can't wait for the next one. So until next time, wish you all very well.